All right, welcome back, folks.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Superstar in the house today. We got a
What's up,
special
everybody?
guest
How
for
you
you
doing?
guys today, man. Get ready for
Uh,
this one.
yeah, so Fadi, I want you to go ahead and introduce yourself to the world. I know most folks already know you,
This guy
but
needs an introduction.
right?
I appreciate that, guys. I'm sure there's still a lot of people in the reptile industry for me to meet to connect with. So, first of all, thank you guys for having me on. I'm super excited to do this. And for everyone listening, I'm Fadi, Daffy's Reptiles. I also host the Daffy's Roundtable podcast, and like everyone here, I love reptiles, man.
All right. So
Yeah.
because this was a great question when I asked Mark this. So what sparked that interest in reptiles for you?
Yeah, I don't even I think it's probably gonna be like a pretty similar story to everyone else. I don't even know what or when it sparked, but like one of my first memories ever is just like having an aquarium in the house and there was guppies or mollies or whatever in it and I would just sit there and stare at it for hours and then the first time seeing baby fish and I think like I was keeping aquariums for a lot longer than I was keeping reptiles and I think it kind of all just fits in together of this like interest in nature and interest in all the cool different methods that everything happens in. You know what I mean? All these animals have different behaviors, have different breeding methods. All this stuff is just super fascinating to me. And I remember wanting like a snake like at a super young age, but obviously that was not like, my parents shut it down real quick. And so as soon as I was able to, like, I got a crested gecko, and then within like months, like I think maybe 3, 4 months, I had 20 crested geckos, and then like once it started, it didn't stop.
Snowballing?
Like, yeah,
Yeah.
like hard. Yeah, yeah. So, but man, reptile, the hobby's so much fun too, right? Like you meet awesome people, you're getting to keep incredible animals that we all love. And like just start once I started going to the expos, it snowballed even harder. And once you start meeting other breeders, it snowballs even harder. And once you start like talking to people online, you're like, this guy's keeping this, I want that like, and it just gets, yeah,
I
it's
mean,
it's a
you're a
fun hobby.
candidate
Yeah,
too, right? So you're even dealing
yeah,
with people from other countries, you know? I
yeah,
mean, it's
yeah.
that's awesome, man. It's
So I
very
think I
cool.
think regardless of where the reptile keepers from, like all over the world, I think we're all keeping fairly similar kind of species and fairly similar methods.
Sure.
So like there's always going to be those little like this country does it this way, and maybe we can
Sure.
learn something from that. But in general, I think everyone's switching to kind of the same like nicely set up
Yeah.
tanks, well scaped, all that kind of stuff. Yeah,
Well, the one thing I like to always drive home when we're talking about international reptile keepers is that no matter how differently we may all do little things, we are all doing the same thing, right? We all have a common love. We all have a common passion.
100%.
So no matter how different we are in cultures, how different we are in our beliefs, how different we are in family values, we have one thing in common, you know? These reptiles make us alike no matter where you're from in this world. It's awesome. It's very,
Yeah,
very
man.
cool, man. If people could just keep that in perspective, I think there'd be, it's beautiful for humanity, if you will. An insight into how alike we actually all are.
Yeah,
I like that. I
100%.
like it. Yeah, that was a great one right there, man. I like that.
Yeah.
So so what's like your current collection looking like right now?
Yeah, so in terms of lizards, mountain horn dragons, everything,
Everything. I want to know everything.
everything. Okay, cool. Yeah, yeah. It's quite. I got a little bit of everything. I don't have too many of like, like I said, I got 20 crested geckos at one point. I'm not really doing that anymore of like diving deep into species. I kind of just keep little groups of everything because it's also much fun. But yeah,
I
so
love it.
I have two species of mountain horn dragons. I have emerald tree skinks. I have collared lizards. I have Peridora pictus geckos. I have two species of Stenodactylus. Um, I have dart frogs, three types of dart frogs. I guess.
Species.
Yeah, I was gonna say two of them are the same species. One of them is another. And then for snakes, I have Antiregus. I have spotted pythons and children's pythons. I have carpet pythons. I have a green tree python and possibly more on the way very, very soon. And a couple
Nice.
of boas.
It's a very
Yeah.
cool collection.
Thank you, man. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Very
definitely I
nice.
Try a little bit of
value
everything.
Yeah,
diversity,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah,
That
100%.
diversity makes you a better keeper because like when you only have like one species or something like that, you kind of have that one single mindset. Now when you're trying to have when you have multiple species and like you have snakes, you got lizards, you got geckos, now you got to be on your toes and making sure you're keeping everything at all these right conditions. So definitely
Sure.
I value that stuff right there.
Just knowing reptiles the way I know reptiles myself, I'm going to step out on a limb and say that you probably didn't just start with these species, you know? You probably
Yes.
kept all kinds of animals to lead up to these somewhat elite, higher care, these animals, So you got quite a bit of experience on your way up to this collection, and that's awesome. Makes you it does, like Jay said, it makes you a very well-rounded keeper. A lot of experience, a lot of knowledge. So
Yeah,
it's
Jack.
100%. And they're all like little different, like you learn how to do tropical arboreal, then you learn how to do tropical terrestrial, and you're like, oh, but what if I did like a little more arid setup? And you kind of learn all the little microclimates for everything. It's a lot of fun. And to your point, I did keep a bunch of different species before I started keeping these, and I assume that these are probably not, they're probably not what I'm going to be keeping for the rest of my life. Like I enjoy the okay, we've learned this, we've mastered this. I wouldn't say master. I don't think I've mastered any of them, but I've learned how to keep these well enough. Let's try something else. It's like the whole hobby is about like having fun, right? Like if we're not
Yeah,
having fun, why are we even
yeah.
doing this? So,
sure.
yeah, yeah,
You're trying to level
I mean,
up.
it's common.
yeah,
The evolution of keeping is common. Lots of guys. I mean, whether it's in a very short time in our older years, or it starts out in our younger years to our older years. Hypothetically speaking, most guys get a ball python. Now they're much bigger than they are when I was a kid, as far as popularity wise. Well, I shouldn't say not popularity wise, but there's more of an interest now that there's all these morphs. But my point is, as far as care wise and price wise, you back in my time, you would get a ball python, then eventually you would maybe get a, you know, Burmese python. I mean, back then the
yeah,
options were limited, but you know what I'm saying.
right.
As your length in the hobby went on, your species and the care of those the requirements of those species increased. You evolve. And sometimes you switch species in general. Sometimes guys go in, collecting snakes in the beginning of their hobby and realize that they're really into lizards, or vice versa. It's just I find it
100%.
very, very common of reptile keepers in general. We're all on this mission to find our animal, right? Like,
Holy
or a group
Grail
of them, or
species.
or
Yeah,
maybe we're just trying to fulfill a need or desire. I don't know. I'll start rambling. So you can shut me up.
you're getting deep into this. I like it.
Right? Trying to fill that void.
Yeah. I
I'm
mean,
just
it's
saying,
valid. It's true.
you know,
It's true.
we've all had animals and lost. I hate to say it. I don't mean to sound like in a malicious way or mean for it to sound bad, but we've all had animals that we lost interest in, right? Like we had them and just realized they just weren't for us, you know?
Oh yeah, yeah,
So you don't stop
100%.
keeping reptiles because of it. You continue the mission to find something that's fulfilling.
yeah. You find something that you're really gonna fall in love with, that you think that you want to work with for the rest of your life. No, if you have to keep doing that for 10, 12, 30, whatever, keep on going. As long as you're not, no, like you said, no neglecting that animal, right? As long as
Sure,
you're,
yeah, that's a
yeah,
given.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, some people like. I mean, y'all read
Right.
that yeah, yeah, y'all read that shit. Did you hear about that, Fadi?
What
About
are
the
we
guy in
talking about?
Florida? The
The
guy in
leopard
Florida that
geckos in the storage container.
No, somebody send me this.
I'll see
Terrible.
if I can find it. Yeah,
It's on my
yeah,
page. I posted it.
Did you? Okay, hold
yeah,
on.
yeah.
It's
He just
terrible.
essentially it was like African fat tails. There was like 100 of them things left in the storage container for like how long was it? Like some months, like 6 months or I can't remember. But yeah, it was a long time, and they finally found
My
him
buddy's
guilty.
wife sent it to me. I can
I don't
find
know, but
it.
yeah, well, yeah. Whenever you guys get a chance, someone send it to me. I'd like to read that. But
Yeah,
yeah,
Send me a
I'll find that one.
follow.
whatever the situation is, definitely don't do that.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, move on. If you're gonna move on, find it another home. That's all.
100%.
That's what you got to do.
Well, that's the thing with that too. I mean, I don't really want to spin off and go down that, but if you have an animal and you don't want it anymore, for whatever reason it may be, there is a huge probability that that's someone's dream animal, right? Like you could make
100%.
someone's life and get that animal to someone's hands that will, you know, really that will idolize that animal, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, let's get off of that stuff. And all right, like I said, we're here to talk about some
Yeah, don't mind
stenos,
me. I'm just
right?
trying to find this thing real quick for you.
No, you're good.
Yeah,
Honestly, so the first time I ever heard about stenos was actually your buddy
Dion.
Reptiliatic, yeah, Dion,
Reptilianus. Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Which led me to your YouTube channel and your podcast. So what made this that reptile that you wanted to work with?
A number of things. Funny enough, you bring up, I don't actually think I've ever done, I think we've done 100 something episodes of my podcast. I don't think I've ever talked about Stenodactylus on them. So maybe I need to do a Stenodactylus episode myself.
There
But
you
yeah,
go.
no, they're, man, so many reasons. Like, first of all, their size. Like, you can, in a 15, 20 gallon, you can easily keep, well, they're communal, which is another cool, like, cool thing
Nice,
about them. Like,
nice.
just all these little, like,
How
things
many
that
species
make them
are
so
there first for guys out there that don't know
13.
Stenodactylus? Like I know Petri eyes are pretty common, right? Like how many Stenodactylus are there?
So 13 or 12,
Okay.
something like that, because I think they've reclassified Arabicus into Trigonodactylus. So I don't think it's a Stenodactylus species anymore, but somewhere around 12, 13 species, and I think only about 4 or 5 of them are actual Stenodactylus is probably the most common one in captivity, and then it's Stenodactylus petrii or petrii, or however it's pronounced. And then I've seen some people. There's a keeper here in Canada called Dactylus Den, and he has all
Oh,
kinds of
I
cool
know.
little geckos. Yeah, he keeps some really cool stuff. Yeah,
Yes, he
yeah,
does. I've been
yeah.
trying to get him on, and he does not want to come on.
I try to get him on my podcast as well. I'm sure he has a lot of knowledge to share, but I guess he
Yes,
just
he
maybe is
does.
not comfortable on camera or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think he's keeping 2 other species. So I know there's Duraye is definitely available in captivity. I just haven't been able to see them in a while. And then there's Slevini, I believe it's pronounced. That's
Okay, I
also
heard of them.
available in captivity, but again, I haven't been able to find them. But yeah, and they're all the same thing. Like some of them are a little bit smaller, some of them a little bit bigger. I think Stenodactylus is one of the smallest ones. The Petrii will actually get to like 3, maybe 4 inches as well. So like they're even the bigger sized ones, like the bulldogs of the Stenodactylus, are still so tiny. And
Mhm.
to my experience, like obviously haven't been able to keep all of them, but I think the majority of them um, can be kept communally. I'll say and we can get into this a little bit later on as well, but I have been out in the desert in the UAE and actually seen Duraye and Slivini in the wild, and even there, it'll be like, sand and then a bush, and under that bush you'd find like 6 of them, and then
Wow.
not too far away another bush, there's like a bunch of them in there. So like it seems that even in the wild they're living in fairly close proximities. I've never had males fight. So
Mhm.
yeah, so like it's cool to have like a small, almost like, I don't like, I'm a little scared to use this phrase, but like desk pet, a little tank on your desk. You could put a couple of them in there, and just desertscapes look so cool too, man. Like, the sand, you like,
Yeah.
however, like it's a cool looking setup with a cool species. They make noise. I don't know if you guys knew this. They like chirp.
Oh, they vocalize?
Yeah, it's so cool.
Yes.
Um, and
Oh
yeah,
man.
like I think just like that's one of the many many reasons that you could attribute to like wanting to keep these geckos. Honestly, when I
You're
first
just
found them, people were like, why are you keeping this gecko that like a long time ago we used as a feeder, and like nobody cares really about them? And then I slowly started talking about them, and then Dion Reptiliatus got some, and it's kind of just like, out of all the species I keep, out of everything I keep, to this day, Stenodactylus is the one thing I cannot keep in stock. Like if I breed them, they're gone. And I have people messaging
wow.
me like every other day, being like, "Hey, do you have any Stenodactylus?" And unfortunately, they breed fairly
Really?
fast, but they're not like Pictus gecko rabbits. You know what I mean? Like they're not just pumping babies out all the time. So it's like I can't. Yeah, like I have people messaging me being like, "Hey, I'm in your area in 6 months. Think you'll have any available then?" I'm like, probably not, man. Like, yeah,
Wow.
they're
Man.
cool.
You're just checking all the boxes for me right now. This
Are
is
those the
sounding
ones
amazing.
Mark has? Mark
I'm
has
telling
these,
you,
right?
keep them.
Mark
Who?
who?
The
Mark
Gecko
who?
Room.
Gecko. I don't know. He might. Yeah, yeah. I think he has Petri.
Somebody I know, somebody I'm like really good friends with has them.
Yeah. I mean, because I actually seen them at my reptile store when I was just there too. So
Really?
they had them. Yeah, yeah.
An import came in recently
Well,
because
I'm
they've
sure.
started popping up here again as well.
Just
Yeah,
like those, the wandering gecko. You seen them at all the shops right now because
big eyes,
with the big
right?
eyes. Yeah, yeah,
Big eye. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think they
yeah.
call them. I
I
can't.
can't
Yeah,
pronounce the
yeah.
scientific name,
Yes.
I think I know what you're talking about.
but
Yeah.
Wandering.
everybody got that shipment, so they're all selling them right now.
The sorry, one second. I'm just fixing my headphones. But the Egypt import just came in,
All right, all right.
and so all of these
That's
items just
okay.
came in on the Egypt. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's funny when you'll start like if you look like on Morph Market and stuff, be like, all right. Now you're starting to see like this all this like consistent posting of
Wandering.
all the same stuff, like those toad-headed agamas. Like
Yeah,
you notice
yeah.
that?
Things creep me out, man. Creep me out.
They're so
I would
cool.
I
never
love
own
them.
one of those. Dude. They're like a horror movie. Like it just
That's
they
what I love about
terrify
them.
me. They
They're like the
terrify
little
me.
predator, like a little.
They're so
They
cool.
should be on the movie Predator. That should be their
Yeah,
little lizard running around their planet. That's what they should
My
be.
yeah,
wife will have me and all my lizards on the street, bro.
yeah. That's funny. Yeah,
So so you said you were over in the UAE. Uh,
yeah.
so what all did you notice about them over there?
Yeah,
Like
we
what were
could.
some of your observations?
So first of all, I think like as a desert species, everyone immediately assumes dry. And I've been to like some deserts in the States, and I felt what a dry heat is, and it's very very different over there. Like it's humid and gets even more humid at night. So I think that's probably the biggest thing is like everyone's keeping them too dry, and not thinking about like how much humidity they're like how much like they're probably drinking from the leaves every morning, whereas I assume I doubt they're finding always finding the water bowl in cages. So I really think they need to be sprayed down a lot more frequently. People are spraying them, but everything, honestly, everything is surprising. So like I was there in January, which is the cold time of the year there, but really like during the day it's still around 20, 22 degrees Celsius. I'm sorry, I could convert them on Google
No,
to
you're good.
Fahrenheit, but I have no idea what they are in
No, you're
Fahrenheit.
good. Hold on, I'll look for
Yeah,
it.
like
Keep on
yeah,
talking.
so like to gets up to like 20, 25 during the day, and then at night it's dropping to maybe 15, 12 degrees, 10 degrees, and the geckos are still out. Like they're still active, they're still out, so their temperature ranges are a lot higher than I think people keep them. And in summer, since you're still looking it up, look up like 45 degrees Celsius because it'll get up to that in the summer as well.
Oh, that's okay. That's my heat right there.
Yeah, yeah,
Arizona.
yeah. Sorry, that's
Yeah,
Arizona heat right there. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah, yeah.
So
Okay.
the range of temperatures that they handle throughout the year, obviously they're not dropping into freezing, but they're going through a lot. So it also makes me wonder of like, should we be cooling them for better breeding? Obviously they don't brumate because like I said, they're active even in those months. But maybe there is something about like the colder temperatures helping them breed. I'm sure there's different food sources that are available at that time of year versus like in summer. There's probably not much food in summer compared to like that time of year when it's actually raining
Yeah,
and
yeah.
bugs are moving and all that kind of stuff. Um, yeah, and like I said, they're in groups. They're in groups and loose sand. I think this is a interesting thing because I know a lot of people are like don't keep them on this impaction, which I don't believe anyway. But they're not living on at least the two species that I saw, which is Dorai and Slivini. They're not living on like rocky substrate. It's like completely loose sand. Like actually, when people call them dune geckos, like that is probably the most like legit common name because they're actually on just a bunch of sand dunes with like
Sand dunes.
a
Yeah.
bush here, a bush here, a bush here, and it's you could pick up the sand and it like falls through your hands. It's not rocky at all. It's completely fine, loose substrate. Yeah, it's
So
cool seeing them in the
maybe
wild.
yeah. So
Yeah,
I'm guess they got long claws, right? Or like long limbs
yeah.
to help move through that sand.
Yeah, yeah. I think one of their common names actually is like elegant fingered gecko or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Uh,
So
so yeah, they
so that
do.
makes more sense now with them because I mean, just to move through that sand a little bit better instead of having like what most geckos have, which like very small feet and everything like that, they wouldn't be able to move through that sand like they would be. But so that's nice little evolution of, I guess, how they evolved to survive over in that desert.
Yeah, 100%. And they're definitely burrowing as well. They're
Okay,
definitely using those hands to dig as much as they are to move around. Yeah,
okay, nice.
yeah.
These aren't, remember the ones Richie posted? They were glowing in the dark. These are
Rangi eye.
different.
Those would be like Trigonodactylus. So the one I mentioned that like switched, that they're switching
That's
from
the one they
Stenodactylus to
changed.
Trigonodactylus. Yeah. That one glows under black light. I found those out there too. Yeah,
Right.
absolutely does. It's very cool. And I think even to a certain extent, I think if you get like a lightly patterned enough Stenodactylus, I think they probably would as well. I've never tried it, but I think they would. They seem to have that kind of like translucency that is what causes the.
Yeah, yeah. And I just always curious little things like that as to why. I'm a big believer that Mother Nature doesn't do anything by accident. And I think that certain animals and reptiles and general see differently. Their eye cones are designed differently than ours. Or some of these things that like I often wonder, like people think with reptiles, UV light is important just for basking, but I don't want to get too much into it, but they need UV to see, right? Like certain species need UV lighting just to see properly. Without UV light, they're not seeing to their full capability. But again, it's little
Yeah, I think
things like
it's the
that that drive me up
UVA
the
that they
wall.
need to actually see and locate and hunt their prey. I could be wrong about that, but I think that's the
It's the truth, dude.
spectrum that they see.
I've
Yeah.
tried to
I
feed
think it
my bearded
is.
dragons. I have bearded dragons, and I've tried to feed them bugs off of a tong. Well, this is a long story, but I'll give you the gist of it. I had the UV light off one day, and I just had a couple like I'll use grow bulbs, on my tank, just for like ambient lighting or whatever,
Yeah,
and they
yeah.
kept missing the bug. Like it's on, I'm feeding them off of these, roaches, dubias off of these, 9-inch, 10-inch tongs, and they're missing them. I'm like, dude, what is wrong? Like, what's happening here? How are you missing these roaches? Like, they're right in front of your face. You look handicapped right now. What the hell's going on with you?
Yeah.
Dude, for whatever reason it was, after doing it for a few minutes, like I started to get concerned and thinking that something was wrong with my lizard. So I start like
Yeah.
panicking and I get into that hyper focus mode, like what's happening here? And in the midst of it, somehow, just for more lighting, I turned the UVB light on. I turned the light on the enclosure. Boom, hit it. I'm like, whoa, are you
Yeah.
kidding me? Turned it back off. Did it again. It was pretty gnarly how it transpired, pretty much by luck. But that's how I came to that conclusion, man. Just watching, messing around my bearded dragons, and absolutely, they cannot, whatever or how they can't see. I don't know. I'm not a scientist, but the UV absolutely helps them see how they're supposed to see or whatever. I wish I was a
Yeah.
scientist, but I'm not. Bear with
Yeah,
me.
yeah. I've actually had a similar experience with my mountain horn dragons, by the way. Like
See?
I've seen that same, they're missing the bugs and then UVB goes on and they're hitting it. And
Oh, that's
sometimes they won't even.
awesome that I'm not
Yeah.
alone.
Yeah, yeah, no, no. I've
I
definitely
think
noticed something
that's.
similar as well. Yeah.
Do you think that's because our mountain horn dragons are they diurnal?
They are diurnal. Yes.
Okay, so do you think that's a diurnal thing though? Because I know, I mean, with my geckos, my nocturnal geckos, they
They're
there's
hitting it
no
in the
light.
dark.
They snatch up food,
Yeah.
so it could be a diurnal thing.
Yeah, it's definitely not every species. It wouldn't make sense,
Yeah.
but I mean, a few, I'd imagine. There's more than a few. I watched a whole documentary that one time about UV, The Life in Color of David Attenborough. He
Yeah,
did a
yeah.
documentary called Life in Color, and it literally goes on about all of the animals that literally see in UV wavelengths. It's or can see UV wavelengths. It's very interesting. I wish I was as
Fascinating.
smart as I would need to be to, articulate these things. But if you watch that documentary, I've told you about it before, right, Jay? That
Oh yeah, yeah,
Attenborough, The Life of God. Fadi,
yeah.
have you seen it?
I definitely have. Yeah, I've seen all
Awesome,
the
right?
Attenborough
Awesome.
ones on
That
Netflix.
that
They're
that
incredible.
that document, mind blowing, mind
Yeah.
blowing. And it
But
really
that's
helped me
fair.
understand. You can apply a lot of that, or at least learn, open my eyes up to a lot with reptiles, with my collection. It's
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Well,
with
and
these
to comment on, sorry, just real quick, just to
no, go
comment
ahead, go ahead.
on the why they glow under black light. I also don't know, but I think it probably has something to do with like deterring predators. Because why else would they, it's
sure.
probably something that sees that black light as maybe like, oh, this is toxic or something. But that's
Sure.
completely just a guess. But yeah,
Scorpion, they have scorpions glow like that too, right?
yeah.
Yeah,
Scorpions go
yeah.
like that, and these things are small, right? If I'm not mistaken, I don't know, want to say that I know for sure, but I remember maybe somebody telling me that scorpions were predating on these things. Maybe was it Frank?
The
Somebody told
scorpions are
me.
eating the lizards, the geckos.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Honestly,
I don't
there's
remember where I
scorpions big
heard.
enough to eat them. I wouldn't be surprised at all.
Yeah.
Might have been
No.
completely different scorpion too, and different lizard, but I don't know. I'm trying to think of something that was glowing in the dark. Somebody was telling me. I don't know this for sure, but I hear so much and talk to so many people that I would be lying if I said I don't get confused sometimes. I could be completely wrong.
Yeah, yeah. Same.
So how does their natural habitat, how does that influence their care in captivity?
I mean, it's everything, right? I obviously they're living in this giant desert, but they're living in specific areas of it, and you have to think about like microclimates and all that kind of stuff, and it's very
Hmm.
hard to translate that into the captivity. Like, I said, oh, it gets up to like 45 degrees Celsius in there, and it does, but maybe they're completely hiding under the sand, they're burrowing and not and avoiding it during those times. So I think the only real way you can use their habitat to that phrasing was off. Not the only real way, but like the the only thing you can really do is do the best you can to like, make it look the same, use similar size sticks to what's on the branch because if they are climbing, that's probably what they're climbing. You try to use as similar substrate as to what the looseness of what it is out there, and then give them gradients because it's the only way they can get away from it, right? Like, are they if they want to sit in 45 degrees, maybe have one small spot of the tank that gets to that, and then give them the ability to completely escape it and drop down to a different ambient temperature. But it's hard because even in captivity, like I've kept them in a rack system, just drawers, pull it out. I've kept them in 12 cube exoteras. I've kept them in 10 gallons, 15 gallons, and even in all of those, it's kind of hard to get that. Like the smaller the tank, the harder it is to create a
Oh yeah, yeah,
gradient.
yeah.
And a lot of the time, like I'll set them up in something and they stop breeding, or they're not eating as ferociously as they would in another setup or whatever. And only really thing you can do is like tweak temperatures, maybe move them back to what they were doing a little bit better in for, like I found surprisingly enough, 10 gallons with heat lamps, they perform better than some other setups. Now, is that like the heat lamp warming up the sand on top and so they're basking in that area? Is it that they're not burrowing deep enough to where heat pads are so they're not getting the same effect? Different things to play with. But I think the biggest like takeaway from being out there and then like translating that into captivity was definitely the humidity. Like
Hmm.
I've always been spraying them, but I went from spraying them like once a week to spraying them almost daily because it's humid. Like it's humid over there. Like
Is it
crazy.
near
Yeah.
like is it like right like close to the ocean? Is it along the
Ocean. Yeah.
borders of that?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
right.
It's
Oh, so
like
that
it's
makes even more sense then.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like a desert that's on the edge of a coast.
Okay.
Again, that's just the two species I found. I could be and they're not the two species I'm keeping. So I could be off, but that's just the closest thing I know to have seen. So and so far it's going well. So, if it's not broken, don't fix it kind of mentality.
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But yeah,
So are
yeah.
you're doing like over the head, you're doing above heat with them right now?
Well, right now I have them set up all three ways still. I'm still kind of like
Okay.
experimenting. And I also
Okay.
there was a while I said earlier I have little groups of everything. The stenos are actually the one thing I have like a fairly decent sized group of because they came in wild caught quite cheap, even though their prices aren't really that high anyway.
No,
But
no, they're.
I
Oh
did
my
pick up quite a
god.
few of them, and so
Yeah.
I have, like I wasn't ever keeping them in racks, but when you have that many, I was like, all right, time to set up a rack for them. And then I set up a couple of cubes. So I have four 12 by 12 cubes with them in there, and um, yeah, so I am trying all different kinds of ways, and they're on like a heat. What's the word I'm looking for? What's the thing that's
Back
in a
heat.
rack? Yeah, back heat on in the
Yeah,
rack,
with the. Yeah,
and then
okay, with
heat
the heat tape.
lamps. Yes, heat tape. Thank you. That's yeah.
Okay.
And then in the 10 gallons and the 12 cubes, they're on heat lamps.
Okay.
And
So,
so far, I
what
find
have
they
you
breed
noticed
better
with
with the
them?
heat lamps.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what I was just about to
yeah,
ask. Like,
yeah, yeah,
all right,
yeah.
cool.
So
Are
like,
you?
sorry,
I
go
was gonna
ahead.
say, are you giving them a UVB?
Yes. Well, so
Okay.
not the ones in the rack, obviously,
Okay. Yeah.
because I haven't figured out how to do that yet. But the ones in the cubes and the 10 gallons have UVB, and that could be it. That could also be it, right? Like I'm in my head, I'm like they're performing better under the heat lamps, not the back heat. But it could also be that those are the ones with the UVB and the other ones don't
Hmm.
have them. So I mean they're completely nocturnal. And even when I was, again, not to keep referring to that one experience where I saw them, because obviously it's one time. I'm not going to be able to gather enough information to actually keep them. But we did go out during the day and found none of them in the exact same spot that we were finding tons of them at night. So they seem to completely disappear during the day. And even in my setups, they'll all be like puddled in one hide. Like if there's like four of them, they're all hiding the same hide during the day. They don't come out. I rarely ever see like, in like leopard geckos or some other species, they'll do, what do they call it? Like cryptic basking, where like
Yeah.
one hand or a tail is sticking out. They don't tend to do that. Like when the lights are on, they're usually completely hidden. They come out around like right when the lights are about to turn off, like an hour before the lights turn off. So are they getting their UVB in that 1 hour and that's all they really need? Maybe, but they don't seem to come out for it, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah,
So,
it could be the UVB. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it could be. So with you running these like two different styles, right? Of one with UV, one with lights and one without lights, pretty much, right? Are you doing different supplements for those?
I probably should be, but I'm not. No. I probably should be giving the ones with UVB less D3. Um,
Hmm.
but I know I use Calcium Plus, Repashi's
Okay.
Calcium
Yeah.
Plus, and I give it to all of them. I don't give it on every feeding, so maybe I'm to a certain extent I'm keeping it balanced, but usually like they're getting that once a week on the
Okay.
crickets, and then I'll do a lot of mealworms and black soldier fly larvae as well. I don't really supplement those much, so yeah, I probably should look into doing that. Actually, that's a very very valid point. In my head, the racks was always like a temporary thing because you're like, oh,
Yeah.
eventually I'll move them all into tanks, but that's a lot of tanks and it takes a lot of
Yeah.
it
I mean,
takes a
you
lot
got
of
a
work.
ton of them, so yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's a process, little by little, right?
Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
I actually haven't had any luck with the Stenodactylus breeding over the last year. So whether it's been like all these different changes or whatever's
Hmm.
happening, I'm not sure. But I haven't had any luck with the Stenodactylus over the last year. And the Stenodactylus Petri are just kind of getting into their season for the year, or at least in my house, this is when they kind of start going. So hopefully we'll have some
Really?
eggs soon. Yeah, yeah. It's
How old?
I don't know if it's. Sorry, go ahead.
How old are they? Breeding maturity. Like how old do they need to be?
So I think young, like well, young is
Really?
like people will say like less than a year. The babies I've kept, I've tend to as soon as they're sexable, separate them until they're a little bit older and then put them together. So I like wait till like they're a year and a bit before I pair them because there are stories of like you raise the babies in groups, and at 4 or 5 months, the females start laying fertile eggs. And I just assume that the longevity of that female is probably not going to be as long if it started laying eggs at 4 months. As soon as I'm able to sex them, I'll separate them into like try to raise the males together, females together, or whatever. But yeah, I think they start breeding fairly young,
Okay. Not. I
and a lot
think
of the
that's
ones I
like a
have are
micro
wild caught
gecko.
anyway. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah,
I was gonna
so
say, I think that's like a micro gecko thing, right? Where the
yeah,
smaller the gecko, the quicker to becoming mature. Because, like you said, with Pictus geckos, it's like the same thing. I think even
yeah,
like Ebonawis are like the same thing. Small gecko, almost like almost under a year, they're almost breedable. So I think it's something to do with them, and that like I guess they got to produce faster because they're such a
Yeah,
small
they're
gecko
food,
for
man.
yeah their
They're
food.
food.
They're
they're
predated on.
yeah. Not many
Go
of them
ahead.
survive, I don't think. Yeah, and especially
Yeah.
like they're like you said, if scorpions are eating them, then like everything is a predator.
Right.
So
Well,
Yeah.
yeah,
I'm going to double check after when I get off, but I swear I remember someone talking about this,
I
and
would believe it for sure, for sure.
they were predating on them. Is there any sexual dimorphism with these guys? How are you able to, being that they mature so young? How are you able to sex them?
Hemipenes. Just you gotta wait for the male's hemipenes. As far as I know,
They just drop them
Really?
balls.
that's yeah. He's you gotta wait till yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't think there's anywhere they do seem to like drop them fairly early, like by 5 6 months.
Okay.
They're usually the males will start showing. But otherwise, I've heard some people will I wasn't able to see this, but would like put like a flashlight and kind of see the hemipenes on the inside when they're super
Really?
young. But I've never been able to see that. It's either that or I got extremely unlucky and tried it on all females. But yeah, I was never able to see anything like that. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
So you were talking about this is like when they're starting to breed for you, right? So
Yeah.
what is their season? Because like, damn, that's like feel like for some oh, I don't know if it's most reptiles. I know for my reptiles, they're already done for the season. Like they
Yeah.
started breeding back in like February, March, and now all their eggs are laid and everything like that.
It's
So
hatching. Yeah.
yeah, so what's going on? Like, is this like their breeding season right now, or is it
Yeah.
just
So
how it is where you live at?
great question. So all of my geckos are the same thing. They're like done laying for the season. Eggs are hatching now, or are done hatching even. And the Stenodactylus, so I bred them for several years before I even got Petrii. They bred earlier in the year. I would start seeing
Okay,
babies in like April, sometimes even like February, March, that start laying eggs. The Petrii, my only theory is that my entire group of Petrii are wild caught, and they're maybe still kind of tuned in on,
to the other
their
side of the world.
yeah, and I
Okay,
think they come from Egypt, which will be extremely hot in summer, probably too hot to lay eggs. So they probably start around now, and their eggs are incubating at lower temperatures than what the extreme summer
hmm
heat is. So they're probably starting right now because they'll start dropping eggs in almost like August, September, and stop in around
hmm
January. And that could just be the group I have. Maybe they're I don't know. Maybe, yeah. Maybe this is when the AC starts coming off in my house as well, right? So maybe
yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
air conditioning is too cold for them. I don't think so, but it could be that as well. Yeah.
Okay,
They're interesting geckos because they're like they'll randomly start going too. Which I mean a lot of geckos are like this as well, but there's no like a certain species, it's like, okay, you're feeding them more now to prepare them for breeding season, and then they're gonna start dropping eggs, right? These guys just seem to like, especially the Stenodactylus, when I was like breeding them season after season, it'll be like, okay, you're done now. I'll start looking for eggs again in a couple of months, and then 3 months later, it's like, okay, still too early for eggs, and oh, there's eggs. Like they just kind of start whenever they want to. But the Petrii seem to be on more of so far on more of a cycle.
okay, nice.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Ant.
more people need to be keeping Stenodactylus. They're cool species, man.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I
Yeah,
know we talked like in general sense about housing them. Um, I got a few questions. I kind of just ball it up into one. But are you
yeah, hit me.
housing the different species any differently? And how exactly are you in your house setting up your enclosures to achieve these parameters that we talked?
Yeah, okay. I'll give you like my favorite current setup of what like out of all the things I'm trying. So yes, I'm keeping them the two species the same, but the Petrii are a little bit bigger, so I'll use like a 15 gallon for If I want to do a trio, I'll use a 15 gallon, not a 10. Whereas like the stenos, I'm comfortable even going up to like four females and a male in a 10 gallon. Like
Wow.
they're it's probably a little bit too small, but for breeding for short periods of
Cool
time, I think
though.
they're
More interaction, which is my next question.
well, no, I'll answer it right now as well, and I will give them several different hides, and they're always, without fail, all of them would like there's enough hides for each of them to sit individually, and they're always
Still
sitting
come
under the
together.
same hide. They're always,
Yeah.
yeah, they
Well,
don't seem
you
to,
said they're communal, so they feel more comfort together. They feel like their survival rate is
It just
probably going
goes
to be
to
a lot
show it,
better.
though. That you
yeah,
could have a 30-gallon tank and they would still be together. So
right,
it's like
yeah,
it's just more proof that the size wouldn't. Maybe they travel around at night, and we're all reptile enthusiasts. We're not promoting or preaching smaller enclosures, but to a degree, there, may be such thing as an overkill. You have these tiny little geckos that are, super communal and interact with each other, and there's clearly safety and comfort in numbers with these little guys. It's
yeah.
you may not need 100-gallon tank. It's not going to make you a better keeper than a 15, like you said. I mean, it's
But picture 100 gallon tank with like
40
20,
of them.
30, or 40
Yeah,
of them. Yeah, like how cool of a setup would that be?
that's what I
I wish I
said.
had the
Yeah.
space to do that. Yeah,
But what type of
yeah,
interactions? I didn't give you a chance to answer the other questions, but what type of
yeah,
interactions are you seeing? Are you seeing any type of gesturing? I mean, I know we talked about the chirping and the barking and whatnot, but are you seeing any type of like feeding communications, or
yeah.
what are some observations you've had with these guys?
Yeah. I completely forgot to mention this. Actually, it's a great. So yeah, so I think it's the males that are chirping. I don't know if the females are chirping back. It's almost like it seems to be like a come mate with me call. Like it seems to be
Okay,
very happen a lot more commonly around when I first start seeing eggs than throughout the
okay,
year. I've never actually seen them lock, so I don't know if there's any like, a little bit of a fight before the lock or whatever it is. But on a feeding behavior, they will wag their tail. It's very cool. They do the tail wag, whether it's, warning the other geckos of like this one's mine, back off, or
okay,
if it's like, I'm seeing a prey like because they're not caught alluring, or like they're not using their tail to attract the crickets, but because they'll even do it when there's like a little mealworm in the sand. They'll like kind of get into their like I'm about to strike pose and then wag their tail for a couple of seconds and then attack. So
that's
it's
awesome.
it's, it's cool, and seeing it as like such a little size too. It's
Yeah,
almost like
man, that's
comical. It's
awesome.
like you think you're a big man, tiny, tiny little
I wonder
gecko,
what
but
it is. If it's like a distraction, maybe kind of like an angler fish. Is it just that they wag their tail as a distraction to?
yeah,
I don't know. Just so again, I don't think nature does anything by accident, and little things like that, dude. I could. I know it sounds completely ridiculous to people, but I could spend days on end daydreaming about what exactly is happening. Like coming up with my own
100%.
little theories and what nature is doing. I love stuff like that, man. That's so damn cool.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
cool.
100%. Me too. And you never really know. Like it could be like a distraction, like you were saying. I almost and this it's hard because then you start putting personalities on these animals and you don't
Yeah.
actually know how well they're like how smart they actually are, but it almost does seem to me like it's looking at the other geckos like this one's mine. I'm
Okay.
marking my territory on this cricket. It's fascinating, and again, I don't know if they communicate that way, but it
That they
almost appears
do.
that way. Yeah, yeah,
Have you with these communal species? I have so many questions with communal species because
yeah.
I unfortunately I feel that people's virtuous.
People think that all reptiles are solitary, like solitary
Yeah,
species
man.
that don't
People are
hide. Yeah,
just so concerned about being politically correct that we don't. We're missing a lot because we're failing to experiment. We're failing to give animals the opportunities they would in nature to display some of these natural habit, behaviors. Like if babies hatched in there, would they learn how to hunt from these adults? being they're communal, the babies would have to be around, right? Like, are they teaching or the babies observing the adults hunt? Like, something we're not ever going to have the opportunity to witness that because, I mean, maybe you would, but so many people are so caught up in being, you know, again, politically correct or being bashed for trying something or experimenting with something that we just may never learn, and that would be
Yeah,
a super cool observation to make. Like, if these babies hatch in vitro, they're hatching in the enclosure with their parents, which they probably would in nature. Are the parents caring for them at all, like other species? Some do, some don't. Are they are they, again, are the babies learning from the adults how to hunt, to mate, how to live, how to bask, how to hide? I mean, they're clearly communal, right? So, were they living with the rest of their clutch their whole life? Do they just hatch in a hole over there, and then those animals stay together? Do they go and seek out a group or whatever of other Stenodactylus that's, male light, or maybe, they're a harem of females? I mean, how does all that work? We'll
yeah.
never know unless, people, I guess, aren't
Experiment.
so worried about what others think and really
Yeah.
observe. I could go on about this stuff forever, bro. Like,
No, you bring up a
communal
great.
animals, they,
I wonder the same things all the time. Like, on the point of like, how far are they walking away from that bush that might be their house to lay the eggs? And
yeah,
then is each bush its own separate colony? Do they have like tribe names? Do they like fight with the
Yeah,
different
yeah. I was
colonies?
just
Like,
about to.
it's not,
yeah,
it's
man,
Yeah,
it's fascinating.
sure,
And then yeah, and you're right. People need to like experiment to figure it out. I am too scared to.
bro.
I'll keep the community, I'll do all of that, but the second eggs get involved, I'm pulling those
Take it,
eggs out
right?
because I'm not taking the risk on, you know
Sure.
what I mean?
I don't
I
blame you. I
yeah,
don't blame
yeah,
you. But what would really happen in nature, though? You know what I'm saying? There's a lot there
right,
there's a lot of
yeah,
unknown.
yeah,
100%. I have missed an egg and had it hatch in there, and they
Really?
didn't eat it like immediately. I pulled it out as soon as I saw it, but it must have been there for a couple of hours before I pulled it out, and it wasn't eaten. They say the same thing about a lot of different species though, like the emerald tree skinks. I'm on the Facebook groups, and everyone's like, pull those eggs, or if they hatch, pull the babies as soon as they hatch. And I've seen like I let the babies hatch in the enclosure, and I've seen the baby like follow the male around, sit on the male's back while the male's basking, and it's like that's if the male wanted to eat it, it would have eaten it by now.
yeah. You
Like
would have flipped
it's
that thing over and chomp chomp.
immediately, yeah. So like if it's sitting on its back while it's basking, maybe you're right. Maybe they do learn from the parents, so
Mention
kind of
that.
things. I'll tell you something else that's actually fascinating on the whole like communal learning. I actually find the baby Stenodactylus will do better in so as soon as they hatch, they go into like a makeshift rack kind of thing or a smaller enclosure on paper towels. I'll feed them fruit flies or whatever. I've done both where like I'll keep each Stenodactylus in a little like Tupperware on its own, and I've done it with groups, and the ones in groups seem to thrive better. They grow faster. They both grow faster. There's no like competition of this one's eating more and growing faster than the other one. The ones that are alone are either like almost more spazzy or scared. Like there's no like even crickets will scare them when you first start feeding them crickets, whereas the ones in groups are like out to hunt together. The crickets are in, they're all coming out of the hides ready to go. Which is another interesting thing about Stenodactylus, by the way. They are nocturnal, 100% nocturnal, but no matter what time of the day I go to feed them, they're coming out for food.
Really?
It's
Little
yeah,
savages.
they're yeah, little savages. Exactly. Yeah, they love it. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Sorry, I
So
went on a bit
speaking
of a
of like
rant
that
there.
tribal, that so you're talking about tribal, right? You ever heard of like heteronotion?
Yeah, I kept them for a while. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
I was listening to this podcast, right? And this guy was like, "Yeah, I sold these head of notes to somebody, right? They did a 40 gallon, and what they did, and then after he had a bunch hatch, they literally had their own tribes, like literally, like so one on
Fascinating.
one end. If it went over to the other one, they would bark at him like, "No, no, get back over to your side." So, I mean, there probably is. I guarantee there's probably some tribalness going in there with stenos as well. Maybe get that 40 gallon or something, have all these different sets of rocks and see how
And see
they
where it's yeah.
interact with each other on a larger scale. So Like
It would be cool.
It
I
only
want to
makes
do that.
sense naturally. I mean,
Yeah.
it just, I really, again, I don't, it's one of those things where I can see it in my head, but I can't quite articulate it. It only makes sense. Any one group wouldn't want too many of one gender, if that makes any sense. So nature would almost, in a sense, force them into to manageable size colonies of
Yeah.
their own, for
Yeah.
genetic purposes, for,
It's
just
for
again, male
food
to
and everything
female
like that.
ratio purposes. I mean,
Yeah.
nature would sort that out. And how would it sort that out? But with these little tribes, little broken off colonies, if you will. I've heard it with leopard geckos. I've heard of these things with other species. Stenos may be new to me. These topics we're talking about now may be new to me, but the idea is not new. The science is there with other species.
Yeah.
Very
So
interesting.
It's fascinating, man. They're cool. And to quickly comment on the Heteronotia binoia, or whatever, however it's pronounced, the binos geckos, right? They're awesome. They breed like crazy because they're parthenogenic,
yeah.
like morning geckos, but they are so fast, man. They are so fast that like I couldn't do it. I sold the group I had. It would be like scared to open like the enclosure door kind of thing. And I told you the same thing about emerald cheesecake before we started recording.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just too laid back for fast species. Like I'm not trying to chase anything across the room. So which is nice about the Stenodactylus aren't like that. Like once it's in your hand, it's kind of like I'm in your hand, I'm good. The binos geckos are like little monsters, man. They're
Can,
fast.
can
Yeah.
Stenodactylus walk on glass? Or do they have
No,
nails or toe pads? So they have nails then in their
nails.
feet?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. They can all climb glass. Yeah. Yeah. Like you could, in theory, keep them in a 10-gallon with no lid and just hang lights on top of them, which would be great because one of my biggest complaints is I put the lamps, the heat lamps, on the metal screen.
Oh yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
like I have to come into the room like 15 minutes before I feed, turn off the heat lamps, remove them off the screen so that they're not burning the wood or anything, and then I'll leave the LEDs and the UVBs on, take off the screen, feed them, close it. But um, yeah,
Yeah. I said you're the way you feel about those like those fast gecko like the
the
Benoys and
binos,
the skinks. Yeah, it's the same way I feel about day geckos.
yeah, yeah, I agree. Yeah, I don't keep any day geckos, but I don't keep them
Yeah,
for a reason.
it's why I
Me
haven't got
too, man.
any.
Dude, they're
Yeah,
beautiful, but I can't. 40 years old, bro. I can't be running around catching geckos. Like, it's just not going to
Yeah,
happen.
right.
But
yeah,
they're
So
beautiful.
absolutely.
with you, so like I said, would you live in like the eastern part of Canada and it's much colder, right? What do you have to do during the winter months for them?
It's more actually funny enough, I worry more in the summer months when the AC is on.
Hmm.
Because in the winter, like it's central heating, the whole house is warm. And
Okay.
I'm lucky enough to currently live alone and I can handle heat. So like I
Very
have my
lucky.
house. Yeah, yeah. I set the house sits at 25 degrees Celsius. Like people come in and are like, whoa, and like taking off jackets immediately. It's hot in here. I'm sitting here talking to you guys like sweating right now. And then I'll run the little space heaters in certain rooms. But the catch of like having heaters running all the time is it dries out the air super, super quick. So I do have a little humidifier in. I have almost two and a half reptile rooms. So I have little humidifiers in each that, the annoying thing is I have to refill them with water every like 2 days. And then you just gotta get in there and spray them. Like I keep collared lizards as well, and they're like a more of a dry species. Like the deserts they come from are dry deserts. They're not as humid, whatever. And I'm more comfortable leaving them, a couple of days without being sprayed or whatever. Even the stenos, like I'll travel. I travel quite a bit. I'll leave them for a weekend or 4 days, whatever, without actually misting them down. But if I'm here, they're getting sprayed all the time. So I think the biggest concern here, well, the biggest concern is a power outage happening in the middle of winter. That's the scariest thing to think about because incubators are off, heaters off, and it gets cold very, very quickly. But lucky enough that I've been living in this house for 5 years, it's only happened twice. And so, I'm not too concerned about that. The only catch is heaters, and even AC to a certain extent dry out enclosures like real quick. So you gotta be on
Yeah,
top of, spraying them. I use humidifiers. I use a mist king where I can. I don't have the mist king on the Stenodactylus because I like to spray it in a specific way where the sand isn't like, like I don't want the sand in this area to clump, so I'll spray the back of the enclosure or whatever. So I kind
yeah,
of like to do that a little more manually. But yeah, that's probably the biggest concern of actually like living in Canada. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of places everywhere that get like very cold or very warm and are not,
yeah.
it's not that
Well, I
much of a
mean, for
concern.
me, it's the summertime, because like I said, I live in Arizona.
Yeah,
It's a
it's hot,
summertime. It's
hot.
like 113. Yeah, dude, every fucking day it's like 113, 116 degrees. It's like holy shit. So I mean, like we talked about this on a podcast before. My when I was living in an apartment, my AC went out in my apartment complex. So and
Oh,
that's and
yeah.
I just got this I got a Europlated Sickere. So I
Cool.
was freaking out. I was
Yeah,
freaking out because my
and they like
apartment was
it
like
cool too,
80.
right?
Yeah, and my apartment was like
Yeah,
86, getting up to like 90 degrees. I was like, holy shit. So I had to figure different ways out, like frozen water bottles, letting all that condensation just drip into the tank so it'll stay
yeah.
cool, putting ice cubes in my humidifier and
Sure.
letting that
To
go in there.
everyone listening, guys, it's what Jason is saying. What we're talking about here is extremely important, guys. If you have any type of substantial collection, you guys should always, whether it's happened to you once, twice, or never happened to you, have a plan, guys. Have a plan on what you're going to do should your power go out and you need AC or you need heat. Have a plan. Plan for the worst case scenario so you can be prepared, guys. You're not overthinking. I can't. It happens to me a lot. Now, luckily, I live in a pretty temperate area, but God, my heart breaks for some people that live in areas like Jay, where, even Fadi with extreme colds in the wintertime. I mean, God forbid. I mean, I don't want to go off on a tangent, guys. Just have a plan. Have a plan should you lose electricity. Have a plan on how you're going to warm those animals or cool those animals. It may mean getting them out of there. You may have to, have an evacuation plan, but have a plan, guys.
Generators are
That's
good investments.
Right? Yeah, there you go.
Absolutely. If
Yeah.
you can, there's electric ones now too, so there's really no excuse for someone not to at least look into one. I'm a carpenter by trade. Most people know that by now. But dude, I was at one of these local supply houses near me, and they were doing a demonstration last week of I don't even remember the name of the company, some company, but they were showing electric generators, dude, the capacity these things have are absolutely insane. You could
That's awesome.
run a whole job site pretty much all day on on one charge on these electric generators they have, and they were talking about I'm not an electrician, but the kilowatts versus whatever. But you could arguably run a whole home, plug it into the pigtail of into this generator, and run a home for 3 days off of this thing, man. That's a
That's
whole
awesome.
home, like dryer, regular appliances, whatever the kilowatt was. But it was one of the coolest demos
Rat
I've
freezer.
seen in a building supply place in probably my 40 years of being alive, dude. It was awesome.
That's sick.
But they're expensive though.
Nice.
The thing was like 5 grand or something like that for a
Yeah.
giant battery pack.
Yeah,
But it's worth it.
For
it's worth
somebody
it
like
if it's
us, yeah, for
actually.
someone that has a need for it, for sure.
Yeah.
Even for not, I guess, even just for a homeowner in general, would absolutely pay. That's not just 3 days. That's 3 days at a set usage. You know what I'm saying? They'll
Charge it
have
after.
to use what that was saying. It would probably could last a lot longer. If you take them, who knows? Again,
Yeah, yeah.
have a plan, guys.
So all right, so when does your cooling all right, do you cool your do you cool them?
No, I don't. So like I said, when I came back, I started to kind of consider like what would cooling them look like? Because obviously they don't brumate, so it's not like you're completely, like maybe changing the wattage of the bulbs so that their hotspot isn't as hot, or dropping the ambient a little bit. But I haven't experimented with that yet. I've had a bit of like a crazy year, so my breeding in general has just been like kind of toned down over the last year. But I think there would be some sort of worth to it, like. they're, like I said, they're getting these crazy ranges in the wild anyway. Is that improving the male's fertility? Is it improving the females? Is there, is it good? Is it increasing their longevity? Giving their body couple of months to kind of calm down
Recover.
and settle
Yeah,
in. Yeah.
yeah.
That being said, I've had great success breeding them without doing it for years. Like the Stenodactylus, I think it's been like 6 years now. Granted, I haven't bred them in the last year, but like it's been a bunch of years of good success with like not changing anything year round. I
Okay.
feed them the same amount all year, have the same heat lamp on them all year. Um, they seem to be doing
Yeah.
well. Yeah,
I need to cool
yeah,
mine down. I need that break.
yeah, yeah. You need the break. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
No, like yeah, because I think like arid animals, I do think they go through those. Like I said, they all I think all arid animals go through that crazy weather change. Not like
Yes,
compared to like tropical animals where it's
right.
almost it's pretty steady. I mean, there might be some changes, but for them, like I said, and like I live in Arizona, an arid state, right? In the wintertime, it gets to like the lows are like in the 30s, right? And then summertime, the highs are in 113, 114. So we're going through these crazy changes, which I mean, so I do that. I do the same thing with well, all my animals get the cooling. I was like, I
Cool.
don't care where they're from. Like my Chihuahuas, they get the cooling. My chauffeurs get a cooling. I'm off. Everybody gets a cool
What's
down.
a cooling? When you may say cooling, what's a cooling?
So I
Like a
dropped their
wintertime, like a wintertime temp drop thing?
Yeah, yeah. So it's playing with light cycles, playing with their heat. Like put their heats on dimmers. Like this year though, I'm going to play with not giving them heat at all. Like my chauffeurs, I'm just going to turn off the heat for like a month or two. They'll get some UV for like a couple hours a day, and I may feed them once a week. No, no, talking to Landon and talking to Frank, they're like, yeah, like Landon doesn't even feed them at all.
I
Like
was gonna
during,
say you got to be careful when you shut them down like that.
yeah,
That food can turn into a poison in their guts. They'll eat,
exactly,
but if their
yeah.
metabolism with reptiles, their metabolism is not fired up enough to break down that it can rot in their gut and
Yeah,
cause some issues. So I'd
yeah.
say I'm
And so
wondering if
if
you're
I
almost
do
better off
feed them,
not feeding them.
yeah, I mean, if I do like if I that one day a week, I'll probably end up turning the heat lamp on
Hit the heat on
just
for a
so they
bit.
can help digest that food, and then boom. But we'll see what happens. I don't know yet. I'm still kind of debating on what I want to do with that. Like I said, my my Chihuahuas, I mean, I'll probably like during the wintertime, I give them more diet during the wintertime than I will give them live food because they'll still get a little bit of heat from like their UV light. They grasp onto the fixture and just like hug it just to get get their warmth. But other than that, like I said, I'm gonna test out some cooling and see how they react to it. Like I've done cooling in the past, just not crazy hard. Like I got these Phylors and Nicola. They've been known to hunt in like 43-degree Fahrenheit weather, so
Oh,
that's pretty cold. So if they're
that
hunt,
makes sense.
yeah.
Makes
So
sense.
like with them, I might just put them outside for like a night or during the nighttime, and see how they react to that. And and just like you said, experimenting, see what makes them tick, what makes them trigger, and then once it depending on how it is this upcoming year, because like I said, this year weather started warming back up in January for me, which is like unheard of. Like, dude, it
So
got up, yeah, it got into like the 80s or some shit. It was crazy.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
come out here in
How
January. We're
cold?
lucky if
How
it's
cold
eight
does it get?
degrees.
what's that?
Yes. Yeah, we're yeah. Well, I don't know what 8 degrees Fahrenheit is, but we're probably around the same. I think probably the same temperatures.
What it is.
Degrees
How cold does it get in Arizona in winter? Like when you're saying turn off the heat lamps, how cold? What does your ambient get to during that time?
in the house, I can get it like if my girlfriend lets me, I'll get this shit to the 40s if I can, but I doubt that.
Yeah.
It'll probably get like in the 60s, but I'm going to put like they call them like these Arctic coolers that will help drop your temp by like 10 degrees. So I'm gonna put one right over here and let that go at night. And
13. -13, Fadi.
I just looked it up as well. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So in January we're even colder than that. But so one
yeah,
thing
fuck that.
I obviously I have like sort of the reverse where Like it's very hard for me to cool something in the winter because the heat is blasting in here. But I
Hmm.
used to keep newts, and you need
Oh,
to
that's
cool
cool.
them to
That's a
to breed as
battle,
well.
huh? You probably had a hard time with that. Jeez.
Wine coolers, wine
Yeah.
Yeah,
coolers,
yeah, yeah,
That's what Matt does. Yeah,
and
with
you
our
stick
refrigerator.
stick
Doesn't
them
Matt
in.
put his in a refrigerator, Jay? Oh, I know a lot of
uh,
people do. They use like a
yeah, yeah.
refrigerator or a
I know
wine
Well,
Arlen
they
cooler.
does.
yeah
Yeah, yeah. He was using a fridge. Like he did his little short, those alligator lizards. Uh,
yeah.
yeah, he put those in the fridge for brumation. And but yeah, that's another. That's probably another way to do it too. Well,
I
not
think
It's
for
Dion
cool.
does
some of
as
my
well.
Dealing
stuff.
with
Yeah,
species and all these species, natural environments, right? Because I mean, it's no secret. I'm huge on always using an animal's natural range as its proxy, right? Like no matter how we get there, that's what we need to focus on is an animal's natural range. But it's a battle when we all have our own micro environments, right? Like we're trying to take all these places from across the country, across the globe, and create an environment like something that only nature can produce in one spot, like that's a battle in itself. People fail to
yeah.
realize how crazy hard that is in itself, it's
It's
hats
not
off
even
to
just crazy
everyone that
hard.
does it.
It's I think impossible. Like, people think of like, okay, I can, like Jason was saying, you can reduce the amount of hours for the lights. You can drop the temperatures. You can put them in a fridge, do all these things. But what about the factors that we can't control at all? So like when it rains and the pressure drops, and
Barometric pressure,
you know
absolutely.
all of these things that we can't control at all. How many of these animals depend on those for cues? Like when I had crested geckos, when I was breeding crested geckos, I don't know if anybody else has ever noticed this or not. I would be
They hatch like
outside
crazy.
when it rains.
I had
I would
five
be like,
hatched today alone.
Mine will.
5 geckos hatched
there
today.
you go. Yeah, I would be like out with friends and it start raining, and I'd be like, okay, we're in the within the 5 day range of when they could be hatching, and it'll start raining. I'll be like, I'm going home to geckos right now, like
There you go.
guaranteed.
For
And
sure.
and yeah,
Yeah,
it's cool, man. Yeah.
yeah.
So who
When it
And I
rains
knows?
for
wonder what
me,
that is
they
too.
start
I can
mating.
only imagine, and I know it sounds ridiculous, but there's not many, if any, mammalian predators in New Caledonia, but there's a lot of birds, right? There's a lot of birds and other predatory things. And I wonder if, because it's not with every species of gecko, but with New Caledonian stuff, if they have evolved over billions of years to hatch when it's raining because birds aren't flying as much. Does that make any sense? So
Yeah.
they're hatching for a reason when it rains. So and it has to be something to do with survival. It could be softening up the ground, maybe too. Like I don't
It
know that but
could
there's
also be more
probably
bugs flying around when it's raining, and so
lots
they
of
get
things.
their first meal easier. Yeah.
See things like that, bro. I what
Yeah.
my head thinks
No,
of.
that's
Like
awesome.
I'll
Yeah.
spin off on that for hours. Like, well, what really is happening? People probably look at me like, "What the hell is this kid doing?" Like, just staring out into space, thinking about why lizards hatch when it rains.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But those are the things that keep the hobby fun. Keeps it always like you always have something to think about. You always have some information to
For
consume. Like it
sure,
keeps it keeps it fun. Yeah.
for sure.
oh yeah. It's
The
always a science
unknowns,
experiment.
all the
Yeah.
unknowns.
So but let's kind of get into these eggs. So what's your
Yeah.
like preferred
Yeah.
incubation medium? What's your preferred methods with all that stuff?
Yeah. Yeah. Do you want here? Okay, first of all, just I feel like I never answered this question, so let me quickly give you like the perfect setup in my opinion, and then I'll get into the eggs and all of that.
It's
So
my fault.
I like thick-ish layer of sand, like 3 to 4 inches at least, if not more. Fine loose sand, and then it'll kind of slope up on one side. And I'll pile a bunch of rocks there. I don't know if it actually makes a difference of like retaining the heat, but they do sit on them to bask, so it's doing
Yep.
something for them. And then just a bunch of different hides and a water bowl. And I've never really ever seen them drinking from the water bowl, but it's just it keeps peace of
Good
mind
for
for me.
ambient
They have
humidity too.
water, ambient humidity
Yeah,
as
yeah.
well. And then I'll spray them, and they seem to like to pick specific spots, and those will be the egg deposit spots, and they're always like without fail. There's like 3 spots in the enclosures, and those are where the eggs always are. And I've missed a couple when they're like surprisingly we'll put them somewhere else, but 90% of the time they're in the same spot. And you can usually see the females digging for a couple of days before they lay the eggs, so you kind of almost know they're coming. And then yeah, now I guess now that's it. It's a very basic, simple setup. It doesn't look great in terms of like a crazy scape, but it's by far been the most successful in terms of breeding for them. And they don't really seem to climb much, so I keep it like pretty just terrestrial. But now we can get into the eggs. So do not pick up the eggs with your hands. That's like the first thing. Do not learn from my mistakes. Do not. They're the most delicate, like they crack as soon as your fingers touch them. Like it's crazy how soft they are. And I've tried to experiment with, giving them a little more calcium. I've tried to leave calcium dishes in the enclosure like they do with leopard geckos. Again, where I never saw them use them. Maybe they were using them at night when I wasn't looking, but I would also like drop the worms into that bowl so like as they're licking it, they're kind of getting a little bit of calcium. But even that didn't seem to make the eggs any thicker or any sturdier. So I think they're just naturally very soft,
Brittle.
brittle eggs. Yeah. I have been able to like successfully pick them up with my fingers a couple of times, but in general, I use a spoon. And so for incubation method, I don't. I've recently started experimenting with what's the word I'm looking for? What's the medium I'm looking for?
Perlite.
So Paralitis was what I was using for the longest time. I recently started trying with ReptiHatch, the Repashy one, and it doesn't
Okay, yeah,
seem
yeah.
to be making any
The clay.
difference. But I yeah, the clay, but I don't put the eggs on either the Paralite or the clay. What I'll do is I get like a container or whatever, and I put wet Paralite or wet clay on the bottom, and then put another cup in there with dry sand, and I'll put the eggs in the dry sand. So it's extremely humid. Is that what you do as
Yeah,
well?
yeah.
Yeah, beautiful,
So
exactly like that.
yeah,
Do you put a lid on is that where are you I guess maybe they incubate at a much lower temperature then because you
yeah.
have them
These
just
ones,
on a
because they're
shelf.
all from like a uh no, not rainforest, jungle type of, like Sri Lanka, Thailand, and everything like that. So these ones don't get the heat for like
Right.
incubation. This, whatever, I put it up here because, like I said, the heat rises. So right here is close to the heat tape and the UV. So
Right.
there's a little bit of heat going on, but not much.
And
So
does
I
water
put them about.
collect on the lid of the
No, sometimes, every now and then I gotta open it up, wipe it down, so it's not
Okay.
getting too
You know what I
condensation.
do for that? I
Yeah, I'd
use
love to hear that. Yeah.
betta fish cups. Watch this. I do the same thing, but I had that problem, Fadi.
Okay.
Humidity was gathering up on the top, dude,
And
and
then dropping
literally
on the eggs.
dropping right into my egg cup. It was dropping
Yeah.
right in the center.
Yeah.
So I went and I found these cups, right, from Fighting Fish. Has a hole right in the middle.
Okay.
Perfect ventilation, doesn't allow anything to drip in, and it keeps it. I've never added water for this. It's been here over a month, almost going on 2 months, and I've never added water to this thing. Same
Interesting.
thing. It's wet with the dry dish in the middle,
Yeah.
and that little hole in the top. It's just the one. Like I said, it keeps it humid enough and
Has the ventilation.
allows
Yeah.
enough ventilation that I don't have to worry about the condensation dropping on my dry eggs.
That's awesome. Okay, I'll have to give that a shot because what I've started doing is putting another lid. So like the cup with the sand in it has a lid and then there's a lid on the entire thing.
Okay.
And the lid on the cup I tilt slightly so any water that drops on it slides off into
Okay,
like it's
yeah.
you know what I mean? It doesn't collect on it, it'll slide off into the clay or into the perlite. But it's water. It's still getting
Funny
into
how
the
we all
sand
find a
and
way to do the same thing, right? We're
right,
all
I
doing the
think
same thing, just a little bit differently.
different, yeah. No, it's
It's
fascinating.
awesome.
But I think your method actually works better. I'm gonna go to like I don't even know where I would find those. Maybe like PetSmart and be like, "Can I have all the old cups?" Because yeah, that method seems to work better. Yeah, and that's basically how I incubate them.
Yeah.
I keep them
Look,
at hold on, I'm gonna give it
hold
to
on.
you in
Attempts.
yeah, yeah. I have my little converter pulled up now. I keep them around 85 degrees Fahrenheit, 86 degrees
Oh,
Fahrenheit.
wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
so
Okay. So that's like leopard gecko temps, I
I
guess.
I I
For
think around the same thing. Yeah, it's 30 degrees
okay.
Celsius.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, it's and they hatch in about like almost exactly 35, 40 days. Uh,
Wow. That is
Maybe no, no, maybe
crazy.
maybe 45, 50, maybe 45, 50.
That's
But
still
they're still
fast.
very fast. Yeah, very fast. Yeah.
Yeah. Like you could get overran with them real quick then. Like
Yes.
yeah,
Yes. Yes. Yeah, especially when you have like several females and they seem to all lay within like the same week.
same
And
time
it's,
period.
yeah, it's two eggs a clutch from each female. So yeah, nothing in comparison to like Pictus geckos, Peridora, but it's pretty fast. Like I think each female will do like maybe three clutches, four clutches a year, so like 6 to 8 eggs a
Okay.
year. So
Nice,
it adds
nice.
up. It adds up. Yeah.
Yeah. So how many are you running right now? Like how many females do you have right now? Like breeding.
Breeding, I would say I have Stenodactylus. I haven't, like I said, I haven't been doing anything, but I guess just not giving them that extra little bit of care or focus has kind of stopped them from breeding, which is a little bit weird. But I have three trios that
Okay.
are kind of still set up together. Six females and three males right now in separate enclosures, and then I have a bunch of females that are living together that have no male with them.
Okay.
And for Stenodactylus petrii, I'm running two groups. One is a trio and one is a pair.
Okay.
And
Nice.
that's it for the pet petrii. I haven't been able to find more yet. I would like more for sure.
I got a
Um,
question real quick, and I'm sorry I left on you guys. I drank a 20-ounce Red Bull and was like gonna pee myself.
all
When
good.
your babies, you pull them out, Fadi, how long will you reintroduce them back to their parents or a group with relatives later on?
I have with three babies in the past just to kind of
Do you
like
think they recognized them?
no, I don't think they did.
No.
I think they just became, another female added to the group, which is why I assume, I don't know how many generations they can go before, might start seeing some inbreeding problems or whatever. But I assume they can go a few generations, but I try to avoid it anyway. I have enough groups that I can kind of like switch around babies when they
I'm
go.
thinking, I didn't even think of that, dude. I'm thinking more of like a Tokay thing, like how I talk to guys and they'll say, like, with
Right.
Tokays, you can take the baby and then reintroduce them back like a couple months later and they'll recognize the
Yeah.
egg almost as if, as the baby. But they're not breeding. I totally slipped my mind that
Yeah.
these guys would breed that young.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I don't. Yeah. I think
Yeah. Yeah.
especially with like three, four females in an enclosure, I think they'll all go lay their eggs and then that's it. And then when the babies pop up, I usually pull them out fairly frequently, but I think if fairly quickly, sorry, but I think if they were to stay in there, then it's just a baby Stenodactylus, not my baby Stenodactylus, right? Like I
Yeah.
don't
Yeah,
think the
yeah.
mother would be like, that one is mine. I
Yeah.
mean,
It's just
who
part of the
knows, right?
colony.
It's just part of the colony. Another
Well,
baby
some
from the colony
species
popped up.
do.
Yeah.
That's what's amazing. Like from some of the
That's it.
stuff.
Yeah.
Do you keep
Yeah.
tokays at all? Do you keep tokay
No, not at
geckos?
all. No.
Have you talked to people that have cape them though, right? Like it's
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah.
amazing how they,
Yeah.
like their colony structure and an amazing species. Amazing, amazing.
Yeah, that's the allure of them for me at least. Like I don't like they would fall into that same category of like fast, feisty animals that I don't really want to deal with. But the allure is that like communal, like cares for the parental behavior, the looking into a cork tube and seeing like 20 eggs and the mom sitting there, like that's cool. But no,
Yeah.
I've never kept them. Yeah, there. Did you guys see these? I was gonna say new, like the new Pokemon that just dropped or whatever, but I'm sure they've been
Starry
around
nights.
forever. Just becoming more the Starry Nights. Yeah, yeah. They
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
just suddenly started popping up. They're cool.
What's
There's
even
more
crazier
now.
is they found a
Like, have you
second.
seen?
Really?
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
I
the
haven't seen
with the
that.
red eyes. Yeah, they
The
just
one Jimmy has
well,
them, yeah.
yeah. Like yeah, I hit up
That's
Jimmy like, why are you doing this to me, dude? Like, yeah,
They
there's a
found
start.
another cave. Well, because I guess they're calling them like I guess they're subcategorizing them as cave tokays. So
right.
now they've discovered a second cave tokay. Jimmy Ma over at Gecko and Gecko. I don't know how do you talk to him, Jay? Whether he grabbed a couple or he had the one, but he made a
No,
pretty
he.
cool post showing
Yeah, I
off the
just talked.
differences.
Yeah, yeah. I was
Very,
just on his
very cool.
post saying, yeah. I was like, damn,
Very,
because I saw
very
that
cool for
one, and then
science.
yeah,
Yeah.
I saw a few on Morph Market of a couple different
Already?
ones. Yeah, yeah, already. I
I
They have
saw
think
more.
Gecko Shiva.
They have more of these things than they do in the wild. The morph market.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, I have no idea where or why they're suddenly becoming so popular, but I've started seeing videos of them pop up and they
Makes me
look cool.
nervous. Makes me
Yeah,
nervous. And I
yeah,
don't want to sound like some, weirdo because I'm a reptile keeper and I I get it. But if these things were discovered a year ago, right? Like
yeah.
science hasn't even described them, Fadi. Science
How are
has
they
not even
already in
officially
captivity?
described them. And now all of a
Yeah,
sudden you got thousands in the hobby. Like pump the brakes, people. Pump the brakes. Slow down.
Oh
We're
man.
already sitting over here, raping these cave systems of a species that doesn't even, that science doesn't even know yet. I mean, I commend, I get the, the ambition, the eagerness and all, but geez,
give them yes, pump the brakes. I like it. It's true. It's true.
go observe them in the
Yeah,
wild, right? Like, wouldn't that be
yeah,
twice as cool? You're going to take all these a new animal discovered to science and put it in a box and tell them you're going to learn something. Go
yeah.
study them in the cave. Take all this money and go out there, go on a vacation and observe these things in their natural habitat. Then maybe we can decide whether they're good for the hobby or not, right?
100%. No, that's valid.
Yeah.
Valid.
So with because like you said, you all yours that you got were wild caught, right? Or most of them
Originally, yeah.
original the group. So what was your wild caught setups to get them established in captivity?
They're pretty similar to how I would keep them in how I'm keeping them in the racks right now.
Okay.
In a little tub, a little bit of sand, hot side hide, cold side hide, water bowl, and that's pretty much it.
Did you have to
And
like really hydrate them when they first came in?
I just like based off of like, mountain or dragons, a lot of those are that I got or wild caught as well, or just my experience with wild caught animals is hydrate them immediately. I think like, who knows how long they're on in transit for and when the last time they got a meal or water is or whatever, but yeah, I'll give them like little soaks and hopefully they're drinking water. I find they drink a lot more from being sprayed. Like, if you put a consistent stream on them, eventually they will just start licking the water off their face or licking it off the glass as it's sliding down. So yeah, I try to hydrate them. I keep them quarantined for as long as I can. Yeah. They
When you
seem
hydrate them,
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
are you using those? I've never used it myself, but I've seen the reptile. Have you guys seen like a reptile electrolyte or something like a reptile
Yeah,
electrolyte
yeah.
soap or something? Is that have you
Yeah.
used it? I've never used it. I was always curious of how it worked.
I've never used it with any. I've never used it at all. I've used Pedialyte with some snakes
Really?
before.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and that seemed to work. Yeah,
I
Awesome.
see a lot of people use them for like bearded dragons and stuff. That stuff you're
right.
talking about, and I think my brother
Oh
actually
yeah,
has
the
some because
soap.
he has bearded dragons. So because he
Yeah,
soaks his like every week or something like that. But
yeah. I always wondered. I always wondered that about bearded dragon. I've seen the same thing where they give them a lot of baths. So are we just maybe not giving them enough humidity and moisture in their enclosures that we need to give them the baths, or because they're not finding
yeah,
baths in the wild, right?
That's what
Like,
I'm
no,
saying. They
yeah,
live in the
it's
outback
interesting.
of
Yeah,
Australia. What do they know that I don't know? I mean,
yeah.
they're just hanging out at the beach in the outback. I keep mine in a little
maybe.
bioactive. I keep them in a 120-gallon. There's no plants in it because these savages will eat them all. But I keep mine in a bioactive thing, and I have a water bowl in there. I have seen them drink out of their water bowl. Um, but I've after all these years, my guys are probably 7 years old now. My two bearded dragons, but they I'd say they get most of their hydration from their diet, from their
The
lettuces, their greens rather. But I keep water in there just because water is a clearly a an element of life, right? So I keep water in the enclosure for the isopods and the roaches and everything else I use in there. Can't say that I've seen them drink much or soak in it. I have given them baths, not for stuck shed or anything. They shed fine. I don't know why I've given them baths now that I think about it. Why did I ever give my bearded dragons baths? I don't
well,
know.
you never.
When
It
I
doesn't. It
have,
doesn't hurt. I don't think it hurts.
yeah,
I think
I just don't know
It's
why I
just
did it.
yeah. It just makes you think like if you're doing it for a specific reason, like bad shed or whatever, then shouldn't they be technically able to shed equally as well in their enclosures,
Should
or something's off? But
should
again, I don't know anything about your dragon, so I don't want to pretend to.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know nothing about them. But
yeah.
so coming up close to the end,
Hit me.
is there any good resources for stenos? Like educational, people want to learn some stuff.
Unfortunately, not. Yes and no. Dion's Reptiliadis has been putting out. Yeah, he has the mini
Oh yeah,
sand
the
gecko
Project
series.
Doom
He's got a
geckos.
lot.
Project Gecko. Yeah, thank you. That's yeah. There's some really good information there. I like the way he sets them up, and he's doing a crazy job with them as well. So definitely watch his videos. There was a couple of people from the UK that they're not new videos. They're very old videos, but they I guess we're keeping them like maybe 10-ish years ago or something. So you can still find a couple of videos to see how they're set up. But in general, not much. Like all of the information I've gotten about like, the different species I've gotten from there is some scientific articles on them. So if you can get access to that, definitely read them. It's but they're mostly just like new species discovered or,
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
we're changing the name of this to this or whatever. In terms of like actual care, like where it's until they're more widely kept, which it's happening. It's they're in just the last 3 years, the amount of people keeping them has gone up like crazy. But until everybody starts trying, because everybody's gonna get them, like no matter what I say or what Reptiliadis says or what anywhere you get your information from, you're gonna get them home. You're gonna try a setup. It may not work for you. You're gonna try something else, and that may work for you. So until I think more people are keeping them and more people are talking about them, and everyone's putting out their own little version of care guides, and then there'll be kind of a more complete picture, especially on like, is there any differences between Petrii and Stenodactylus other than their size? Maybe Petrii or Egyptian Sendactylus are, I think they come from like the more Jordan-ish area. Maybe the temperatures they're being kept from, or their temperatures in the wilds there, maybe there is a difference in heat, maybe there is a difference in humidity that we're just not thinking of. So yeah, like there is, to answer your question, there is some good information out there. There's enough information for a brand new keeper to feel comfortable into getting into the species and keeping them, but there isn't and there hasn't been enough like in-depth information like with ball pythons, crested geckos, leopard geckos, all those species that people have been keeping for many, many years, and many, many people have been keeping them. Yeah, yeah, it'll get there. It'll get there soon, I think, too. You know?
I believe so. This last couple of
Yeah,
years, man, I've heard more about them than ever. Over the last
yeah,
last
yeah,
few years, 18 months.
yeah,
In all actuality, they're everywhere.
yeah.
Which is
It's
just cool.
it's
It's cool for
it's
species.
interesting the shift. I remember like when I first started keeping them and trying to find some, and I spoke to one of the importers up here, and I'm like, "Hey, can you get me this?" And he just kind of like like scoffed at me, like, "Why?" He's like, "We used to
See,
get these." He told me we used to get these as feeders for $3 a gecko,
see,
and
Yeah.
and
Well, it's the
nobody
same with the
wanted
Pictus
them.
geckos.
It's same exact same thing, yeah. And they would sit in stores for months until somebody bought them, and now they're being sold wild caught at $100 Canadian, which I don't know what that is. It's
Oh,
not much.
yeah.
It's
I usually see them out here for like 25 bucks or something like that. So
yeah,
really,
oh, yeah.
yeah.
That's what they used to sell them for like 30, $40 Canadian here, and then now the most recent import they're selling for 80, 100 Canadian.
Wow.
So their price as a wild caught is going up, which obviously is going to drive up the captive bred price, and it's all business. But when they were first coming in, like they were coming in, like I said, like $3, $4. Nobody wanted them. They were being used as feeders. They would order 500, 600 of them, and 200 of them would arrive alive. So I think
Damn.
that's kind of slowly changing, but who knows? I think that at one point they were just like being grouped in as like, oh, you're getting sand geckos, and it would be like Stenodactylus, Pictus, Trigonodactylus, like Pachydactylus, all of those things were just being thrown into one container, and it's like pick and choose what you end up getting. Obviously, that's changed now because reptile keepers are more aware of the different species, but it's changing basically. To summarize everything, it's changing and it's changing quick, and I think more people will be keeping them. And like I said, like we weren't seeing them, now we're seeing them at reptile stores. We're seeing them in expos. People are having conversations about them. Yeah,
cool.
the
Good for the
taxes are
Hit
awesome.
him
species,
with your
man.
closer, man.
Good for
Yeah,
the species.
Yeah, and we
yeah,
hit him with your closer.
and good for
I'm
the
gonna go
hobby.
get this, move this cat real quick.
Okay,
My
yeah, yeah,
closer.
yeah.
So I ask all of our guests Pretty much
Yeah.
the same question, so don't take offense to it. I'm just recycling a question, but
No, all good.
I
Yeah.
one of my big passions in this hobby is cultivating and trying to teach the next generation.
Yeah.
This reptile hobby will only be as good as the kids coming up. If a 10-year-old kid came up to you at a show or saw you on the street and said, I want to grow up and do everything you're doing. I want to be part of conservation. I want to have a huge, social media influence and, be a positive voice for reptiles. What advice would you give that 10-year-old child that wanted to grow up and have an impact on the reptile hobby that you do?
Yeah, it's a great question. If they want to be on social media, the best answer is start now. If you're 10 years old, you start now. By the time you're 18, by the time you're 25, people recognize your name. Already know at 10 years old, it might be a little bit hard for, you to get the species you want because mom and dad might not let you, but it's not too early for you to start doing your research, start learning about the reptiles, start learning about all the different types of reptiles. Don't waste your time watching. I shouldn't say waste your time because everything has value and there's always entertainment, but like, if you have a little bit of TV time, maybe watch Animal Planet and National Geographic, not some of the other things. Like do your research, learn from now, and don't let don't let the beginner species thing get inside your head. If there is a species that you really really want, I think 10-year-olds, 15-year-olds, whatever the age it is, have more of the like, I'm gonna figure this out than even us that have been keeping for a long time. Like you're in the position to maybe don't get like a caiman lizard or a tegu, but like you're in a position to like really figure out a species and learn it, and by the time you're old enough to be an authority voice or whatever, like a trusted voice in the industry, you already have all the information you need. Because really, at the end of the day, that's all it is, right? You could ask me about any species any species of reptiles, and I'm going to sit here and be like, I have no idea what you're what you're asking me. But because I've kept Stenodactylus or whatever, I can at least hold the conversation about them. And I think that's the only what I'm trying to say is get the knowledge now.
Sure.
It's never too early to start. So if you start, making a little bit of content here and there, if you can keep reptiles, obviously start keeping them, but learn everything. Take this time to kind of build your foundation of knowledge, because hopefully that's
Great
not too
advice.
much of a perhaps repetitive answer that you've heard from everyone else, but I think
No,
that's
No,
no, I
probably
great,
like that.
great
Yeah,
answer. Great advice. Get involved. It's
thank you.
never too early.
Yeah,
If you're
yeah.
yeah,
10 years old and you want to, do this, I'd say you're probably a year too late. No, I didn't see me too late, but you probably should have started a year earlier. You're
yeah,
never too young to start learning. I mean, you don't have to have animals. I mean, I love learning about animals I don't have.
yeah,
Great advice for children to absorb everything you can, learn everything, watch, like you said, screw YouTube. I mean, to a degree, and Facebook, watch these, Discovery Channel
yeah,
documentaries, man, these
yeah,
National Geographic documentaries. I mean, that's like again, at 40 years old, it's all I watch. Like, it's all I watch. Today I watched about like 2 hours before my cable went out about hummingbirds, dude. It's
yeah,
insane. The world of hummingbirds is wild. I'm watching these things in Patagonia, things I didn't even know these things existed. These species of
all right.
in Peru, Patagonia. Oh my God, so much. Every time you think you know it all,
There's something else. Yeah,
nature will
absolutely.
easily humble you. Nature will humble you.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, that's it, guys, kids. Learn, absorb.
Yep. Now,
100%, hands
Don't
down.
ever
like I said,
stop. Don't ever
I've
stop learning.
always I've always disliked that term beginner reptile. I
Me
always
too.
say like the best beginner reptile is the one that you're going to do the research on. So,
Correct.
whatever,
But
if
your
you want,
first
like I
one.
said,
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, just like
yeah,
if you want that, that Amazon tree boa, but you never had anything, just do the research. Figure it out. If that's something that you want to, that's what you really want, go ahead and do it. Like I said, my first my first geckos I ever bred were chihuahuas and stropharis. I skipped everything that they said are the beginners. I skipped leopard geckos, I skipped crescent geckos, everything, because they told me Chihuahuas are really difficult to breed. So I was like, bet I'm getting them now.
I
Fuck it.
got this.
Yeah. No, it's okay. Strophares. I just love the way Strophares look. So I was like, I'm getting them things. So, but yeah. So my question is, what have been your biggest failures in your reptile journey so far, and what have you learned from them?
That's a good one too. Stump me. I never fail. I always succeed. No, I'm just kidding. Um, I don't even know. I'm sure I've had lots. I'm sure I've had lots of like failures, especially in terms of like trying to get a species to breathe and it not taking, and you kind of have to like tweak a little bit. I don't know if I can pinpoint an exact like this was what like destroyed me or this is a failure, but I think the answer to the second part of the question is like what have I learned? What have I learned in general is it's all trial and error. Like you gotta keep tweaking no matter what you read online. Somebody else's setup, their home environment is gonna be different. The ambient temperatures are gonna be different. Keep tweaking until what works for you works for you. And if it's broken, don't fix it. Because I've had a lot of species that I would say this actually. I've had a lot of species, including Stenodactylus, that I was like, I've nailed this. I figured it out. It's working great. And then, you get bored and you're like, let me tweak this, let me tweak this, let me tweak this, and they stop breeding. And now you can't figure out what you were doing before to make it work. And so, like, if it's broken, don't fix it. And sometimes reptiles just want to be left alone. Like, sometimes they do way better without you messing around and changing temperatures every, 10 days or whatever it is as you're trying to figure
Is
it
the
out.
truth.
So, 10 days is a
Yeah.
little bit of a stretch, but you know what I mean.
Absolutely the
Oh yeah,
truth.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, I think yeah. I hope that answers your question.
Oh no, fine. Every answer is going to be different, so it just
Right.
depends on the person. That's all it is. Like
Yeah.
when I was first breeding Chihuahuas, I changed their setup like 4 times during a breeding season. It's just like, this doesn't look right. Let me try this. No, I don't like that. Boom, let's do this. Like, cause I had them in this huge like these. Or let me see, I got them right here. I used to have them in like this right here, this big old bin, and
Yeah.
giving them
How
plenty.
was that?
It's just a bin.
It's a
I have my
yeah.
cave geckos in there right now, but I had like I said, I had them in there, and she wouldn't lay in her lay bin, so she dropped eggs right on I had in a paper towel. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? So I had to make changes, and then I end up just calling my PVC guy up, like, "Hey, I need you to make me a cage now." So end up making a cage. So I'll keep the humidity in there; it'll stay, have some good moisture in there, so the egg wouldn't dry out if I missed it. And then just put the dirt in, boom, good to go. Now they lay like clockwork.
Yeah.
So it's just figuring shit out. Figure out what ticks for your reptile, and like I said, if it's not broke, don't fix it. No, if it's
Yeah.
broke, make some
Trial and error.
tweaks.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If
trial and
it
error.
is broke,
Yeah.
Yeah, if it is
Yeah.
broke, go ahead and fix it. But if it ain't,
Yeah.
no, leave them alone. Let them be. They will figure shit out. Like I'm kind of interested in seeing what's going to happen next season for my Strophares because I took the male out. Like I leave him in year round, but this year he just would not leave the female alone. He constantly breeding. That's why I got 11 clutches. I was like, no, dude, you're sorry, you're moving out. You guys are going on a break.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we'll see what happens when I do the introduction. See if
filed a
it.
separation for him, Jay.
Yep.
Filed a legal separation.
Right. Yeah. All right, Fadi. Where can everybody find you at, man?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you guys very much for having me on. This was a lot of fun.
Dude,
I gotta have
Thank
you guys
you.
on
this was
on my
awesome.
podcast as well.
Yeah.
Daffy's Reptiles on everything. I don't really post on TikTok much, but I'm on there as well. Mainly on Instagram. You can also find me on Facebook or YouTube under Daffy's Reptiles. And then check out the podcast, Daffy's Roundtable. We talk about all things reptiles, kind of like this one.
Guys, check them out. It's an awesome podcast, guys. You guys
Thank you
will
very
love
much.
it, honestly, man.
Oh
Check
yeah.
it
It's
out.
already it's
Follow
on
them
my
on all
Spotify.
platforms, man.
Thank you guys. Yeah,
Show them the Gecko Exchange love, guys.
And then
appreciate you
one
guys.
quick question: where did
Yes.
Daffy come from?
So I grew up in the Middle East. And then so my name is Fadi, obviously, yeah. And then it was a high school nickname. And so when I moved to Canada, I was like, okay, Fadi, maybe they won't, maybe Canadians can't say Fadi. This is so funny because they say Fadi easier than they say Daffy for some reason. So yeah, I went with like one of my nicknames from when I was younger. It kind of, kind of sounds like an upside down Fadi to a certain extent. And I used to watch a lot of cartoons, so Daffy Duck, kind of
Okay,
all
got
tied
you.
into that. And
Yeah.
yeah, now I mean I've been Daffy's Reptiles for 10 years now, and I kind of regret not just going with my name, but it stuck, so I'm cool with
Phew,
it.
bro.
Yeah,
Phew.
exactly. Yeah,
Never
yeah.
regret it. That's awesome. Love it.
All right. All right. Well, everybody, definitely have a great night, morning, afternoon, whenever you listen to this. Said this podcast will be out Wednesday on YouTube, Thursday on Spotify, and said we'll catch you then. Peace.
Peace.
Stay weird, people. Love you. Later.
Yo, yo, creeping in the dark, life nocturnal, dark and dark, both paths arboreal to terrestrial, sticky toes gripping forest students that explore, listen close, Gecko podcast, that's knowledge galore, reptile talk, host Anthony and Jason, trade secrets flow, no time wasted, from tropics to town, it's sight raining, with every chat, reptile game changing. Escaping heat waves, tan under rays, desert sand echoes, sun blazing days, little hustlers, camouflage a maze, catch them speaking wisdom, the wild on replay. Reptile talk, host Anthony and Jason, trade secrets flow, no time wasted. From tropics to town, it's sight raining, with every chat, reptile game changing. Sculling through the leaves, shadows unseen, master of the skies, chameleon dream. Blizzard tails flip, strip getting clean, gecko exchange, true reptile fiends. Reptile talk, host Anthony and Jason, trade secrets flow, no time wasted. From tropics to town, it's sight raining, with every chat, reptile